I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
The harder I want to hit you.
I'm happy because of being here today. Fuck you.
Come on, you want me to drive? You're supposed to be suicidal, remember? I'll
Anybody
drive.
a drive?
Get in the car.
Fucking shit. Fuck me in the fucking ass. Fuck you, you fucking stupid cunt.
May the Schwartz be with y'all. Because especially in today's world, when we're surrounded by a bunch of assholes. Okay, hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I'm here with a brand new movie review. And this movie review is going to be for none other than a 1987 comedy parody film directed by Mel Brooks, Spaceballs, the parody of Star Wars, and a few other sci-fi films, but mainly Star Wars. So, this is set on the peaceful planet of Drudia. King Roll, the king of species called Spaceballs, attempts to marry his daughter Princess Vespa, a parody of Princess Leia, to Prince Valium, some bored, sleeping to death prince. But Vespa and her little droid Dot Matrix, parody of C-3PO, escape. After wasting the pressure on distant planet Spaceball, corrupt President Scroop orders the arch-villain henchmark Dark Helmet, parody of Darth Vader, and parodies of Palpatine, to kidnap Princess Vespa to force King Roland to provide them with the code that drew his atmosphere. Under those circumstances, mercenary Lone Star and his devoted half-human, half-cane sidekick Barf, parodies of both Luke Skywalker and Han Solo, and parody of Chewbacca, try to save the princess, but the ruthless loan shark Pizza the Hutt, parody of Jabba the Hutt, is after them. But only he who can harness the Schwartz, a cosmic force, will save a day. So as for my reaction, today's a day we are reviewing one of the most iconically great parody movies of all time, and one of the ones done by Mel Brooks himself. So this is the first Mel Brooks review on my channel. Space Jams is such a gem of a movie and one of the best comedies of all time. It's a perfect way to parody Star Wars. Easily. Alright, I froze there for a second. So how was Spaceballs made? So, when Mel Brooks developed Spaceballs, he wanted his parody to be as close to the original as possible, even though the yogurt character Mel Brooks mentions merchandising the film. Yogurt's a parody of Yoda. Brooks' deal with George Lucas on parody Star Wars was that no Spaceball action figures be made. And according to Mel Brooks, that George Lucas had said action figures were going to look like his, and he said, okay, but the agreement inspired Brooks to write Yogurt's merchandising scene includes multiple Spaceballs branded products at other points in the film, like placemats, bed sheets, toilet paper, and no mass-produced Spaceballs merchandise was ever created because of that. But, I wonder if it ever were to be created, how would it have probably looked? So, after Spaceballs was officially shot and completed, Spaceballs was going to be released by MGM on June 24th, 1987. The movie got mixed reviews from critics upon release, but it's attained a cult following. And apparently, we're going to be getting a sequel to this film, which I guess one line foreshadowed next year. Going to be directed by Josh Greenbaum and written by Josh Gad and Brooks. And it'll star Louis Pullman, K.K. Palmer, Josh Gad, and Brooks, Pullman, Moranis, and Zuniga will reprise their roles. And honestly, I don't know why we need a sequel. We don't. Just know. Alright, so here are the good qualities in the story of Spaceballs. So Spaceballs, what makes it so great, it's a great comedy. It's a film that gives you a good laugh every time you watch it. Every scene is just so funny. Whenever it's the one with Lord Helmet playing with his dolls, or playing with the Spaceball figures, And then Colonel Sanders walks in on him. Like, it's definitely one of the funniest parts. There's plenty of other funny parts in the film. Like, I'd say Dark Helmet is the funniest part. It's the one who gets the funny parts. All of the funny parts. There is a one scene that's not funny, especially if you're a fan of Mel Brooks. Right there. Like, it's a joyous, hilarious fairy tale that's pretty much set in a galaxy resembling the Star Wars world. And it got many cheap, childish, and irresistible gags. Special effects of sufficient pretty good quality that they don't distract. A symbol of acting with Mick Moranis being a real highlight. And of course, the Space Winnebago, like, it is essentially a Star Wars spoof. It's done expertly well and has a healthy dose of other popular sci-fi movie spoofs thrown in for good measure. You have parodies of Aliens, Star Trek, Planet of the Apes. And of course, you get the Imperialist forces steal all the air off Planet Druida because the Spaceballs have foolishly squandered their supply. And we meet our heroes there, where Lone Star's a mix of Han and Luke, and Barf is pretty much Chewbacca, who's played by the late John Candy, may he rest in peace. The movie is hilarious from start to finish. Alright, so how do we start off Spaceballs? So, we start off in a galaxy very, 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 very far away. And, like, very far away. And it even says that in the opening text crawl. Where after you get the opening text crawl that explains the movie's plot, you get the ruthless Spaceballs that's led by President Scroob squander their planet's atmosphere, and they're desperate for oxygen, so Scroob hatches a plan to steal it from a planet Druida by obtaining the code to its air shield and destroy Druida in the process. Of course, like, then you get Dark Helmet's introduction scene where he enters with this huge life-size Darth Vader helmet, but he takes it off, it's like, it's hard to breathe in this thing, and then after that, when one official kind of takes him off, instead of doing the force choke, he actually tases him right in the balls. And like, anyone else want to go over me? And they hold their balls like, no. And then he goes and gets coffee from a machine that says Mr. Coffee. And then, of course, then he goes to the machine that says Mr. Radar. And turns to satellite. Then when he tries drinking the coffee, like, it's too hot. Then, of course, later on, we meet our love interest, Princess Vespa, as a spoiled princess, and her robot companion named Dot Matrix, and is about to be married to this sleep narcolepsy prince named Prince Valium, but apparently she had rejected all their suitors in her search for true love. She flees an arranged marriage, sneaks out, and the receptionist also is like, well, yeah, the receptionist is like, you're now married to the princess, running out the door. Then, of course, after that, we meet our other actual, male protagonist, which is this mercenary, Lone Star, and half-man, half-dog companion Barf, who pretty much then get contacted by Pizza the Hut, and pretty much just says, you'll need to pay off 1 million space buck, or you're done. And King Roland then calls and offers Star the same amount. Well, technically, they make him offer the amount. Like, 1 million? Uh-oh, we are fading out. But then, of course, he reluctantly agrees to give them that amount to rescue Vespa and her droid servant, Dot Matrix. And he's like, bring back the car as well. And so aboard their RV spaceship, Star and Barf rescue the two, although Vespa makes them take her bags, and when Barf comes with bags, what is that? It's all her stuff. And then they get captured by the Spaceball ship Spaceball 1, that's commanded by Colonel Sanders and Scrubs Enforcer Dark Helmet. Like we met earlier, we had real mystical power of the Schwartz, but then Eagle 5 runs out of fuel, and so Star has to crash on a desert moon of Vega. And of course, like, they do manage to escape as well. They manage to also escape. They leave the car. And it's like, what? It's not there. And, oh yeah, when Mel Brooks' villain character decides to try to beam to the whole room where all the Dark Helmet's henchmen are, beam me there. But then it beams him back, his head backwards. It's like, oh no, like, I didn't know I have a big ass. And then, like, gets back and re-beam, like, re-beam again. No, I'm gonna walk there instead. And totally just restart the whole scene. Like, Sometimes it's just hard to describe why a movie's so funny. There's good, clever movies that get well written, have a good story, but stupid movies are also funny in general. Spaceballs is a counterexample of that. There's many stupid jokes in the movie, but the stupid jokes here really do feel very creative and actually feel like they're very fresh. You know, they're actually very well written. Right there, so it makes it actually funny. Like I just laugh so hard at almost every single scene in the movie. Like Rick Moranis is perfect as Dark Helmet. The rest of the actors do a genuine wonderful job as well, playing their roles. Everything, and that's one other iconic part with Dark Helmet, besides just the action figures bits, is pretty much where they actually rewatch the whole film we're watching, and pretty much to find out where Lone Star and the Princess is, and they fast forward. They go all the way to the start of the movie, then fast forward to now, and like right there, it's just so perfect. And even one part, they accidentally shut the lights off for the whole movie. Like, what happened? I just shut the light off. I'll figure it out or something. Get the movie back on. The movie keeps going with more humor than like almost a lot of other comedy movies today, especially with all Mel Brooks' other films. Like, yeah, so many funny scenes, and like the action is comedy and also epic action as well. It has great ludicrous speed, instant cassettes right there, or combing the desert, not too many escape pods as well, or in the scenes with the Spaceball merchandise and the fourth wall breaks. It's the prince that she doesn't want to marry because he's too sleepy. Jabba the Hutt called Pizza the Hut, aka so technically Pizza Hut. A torture at the nuts from Dark Helmets. Funny music, like whenever they walk through the desert with all the princess's stuff because she doesn't want to, because she's too spoiled to leave her stuff. Or like capturing stunt doubles, which I'll get to that part later. Or Vespa singing like this man when in prison. And it turns out like her hair buns are also headphones. Many more. So when the four get stuck, they wander through the landscape. And Star and Vespa exchange bar remarks, mutual attraction, but they can't act on their feelings. And of course, because, well, Dot Matrix has this alarm called Virgin Alarm that goes off when he's about to kiss her. And Dot Matrix like, no. Get away from her. Get away from her. It's a virgin alarm that goes off whenever this happens. And of course, because Vespa is duty bound to marry that sleepy prince. Then while they're walking, they collapse from the heat, but they get rescued by her parodies of the Jawas, called the Dink Dinks. Ding, 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 ding. They have that song. Ding, ding, ding. As they're marching, they see them. And of course, they pretty much revive them with water. Where instead of unlike in Star Wars, where the Jawas kidnap the droids to sell them, and that kicks off the plot because Luke Skywalker's uncle ends up buying them, the Dinks actually rescue them from heat and are actually working for parody Yoda called Yogurt. He takes them to the hidden temple of Yogurt, who breaks the fourth wall to advertise all the Spaceball merchandise. You got Spaceballs lunchboxes, Spaceballs shirts, Spaceballs cereal, Spaceballs action figures, Spaceballs fire launchers. The kids love this one. And Yogurt guides Star in using the Schwartz, which is pretty much a ring to channel the power. And to see for Star's medallion that's found with him as a Bambi, but withholds its meaning. And then you get to the bit where Dark Helmet and Sanders go back and rewatch the whole movie to get to the part in the film where she's hiding to find her so they can locate her. So Helmet then uses the Schwartz to impersonate King Roland and trick Vespa into revealing herself, and so she and Dot Matrix get captured and take it to Spaceball 1, and Star and Barf give chase, and he says farewell to Yogurt to rescue her, and he's like, will I ever see you again? Oh, I don't know. Maybe in the sequel, Spaceballs 2, The Search for More Money. Which I guess that foreshadowed the sequel happening. Maybe that'll be the sequel's name. Spaceballs, The Search for More Money. I wouldn't be surprised if that ends up being the name of the sequel. Like, no matter how many times anybody watches Spaceballs, it's never tired to watch. John Candy was a great comedian. It's sad he got robbed from us so early. And you have Bill Pullman, who has acted in films like Casper and Independence Day, gives a fine comedic performance. The special effects are very excellent as well. Like, it's a laugh hard comedy. Like, it's crazy how back then, they at first they weren't making comedies like this anymore, but it seems like comedies like this are kind of slowly starting to come back, from the Naked Gun 4 to Scary Movie 6, upcoming Shrek 5, and maybe a sequel to this. Parody movies are kind of slowly starting to come back. And I also like the music that plays in the movie as well, and the interactions with Rick Moranis and George Winter are hilariously perfect. There's always so many laughs. The acting ability of these two is incredible on screen. Right there. And now Rick Moranis, eventually after 2006, he disappeared for a while, but is supposed to be coming back in the sequel. But he'd also done a few other films I've liked. Little Shop of Horrors. He was in the first 2 Ghostbusters movies. He was in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Mel Brooks always knows his way around comedy as well, and also does this stuff yet again with Spaceballs. Right there. You get a kick of all the spoofs made in the film if you're a fan of sci-fi films from the 80s. Right there. You get all the references they make. Think of it as those films Seltzer and Freeberg tried to make. Think of it as that. Except, they actually know what they're fucking parodying. Right there. And most of the time, they focus on parodying Star Wars. These are just minor references they do throw throughout the film. So Dark Helmet then extorts a shield code from Roland. By pretty much, he's going to threaten the plastic surgery on Vespa's nose. And the King's and Roland is horrified by this. So no, I'll give you the code. It's 1, K1, 2, K2, 3, K3, 4, K4, and 5. The code is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? That's the stupidest code any idiot would make. Then of course, the Mel Brooks' other character, one of the villains comes in. It's the code was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, that's actually a terrific code. I need to put that on my bag luggage. And of course, Star and Barf then arrive and they rescue Vespa and Dot Matrix. They infiltrate the Planet Spaceball prison. They take the security guises and they manage to escape. And they leave stunt doubles behind as a distraction. And when they think they've caught them, so you think you'd escape. Hey, these aren't dumb. And what you see is the man is dressed up as Vespa. Hey, these aren't dumb. These are their stunt doubles. And they escape. But they can't get it because Barf left the keys in there. And so they have to shoot them down. And then when one of them shoots Princess Vespa's hair, my hair? I don't like that. At first, she hated guns. But after they shoot her hair, it's oh, they're going to get it now. And blast them all. Of course, Dot Matrix even comments, that was even better than Rambo. And of course, the shield goes in hand. The Spaceball 1 transforms into Mega Maid, this giant robot maid, and vacuums through his atmosphere. So, Star is able, though, to save the planet by reversing the vacuum. So, of course, the pilots then Eagle 5, and of course, Stars pilots that Mega Maid's head and finds the self-destruct button. But before he's about to press it, Helmet finds him, not so fast, and they battle with this rain-projected lightsaber beams. Though Helmet steals Star's rain, oh, look at that. Oh, yeah, throughout the fight, these guys, get their whole stuff tangled, get their lightsabers tangled. Oh, boy, why does this always happen? Maybe we just put our feet back or something like that. And, of course, he steals it, and he pretty much is ha, tricked you in the old... Is this the ring? Ha, tricked you in the oldest book. Now you'll see that evil always triumphs because good is dumb. But then Star gets this message from Yogurt telling the Schwartz is in you. And he's but I lost the ring. No, forget the ring. The ring is just deployed. The Schwartz is in you. And Star then wheels the Schwartz to reflect Helmet's energy blast with a mirror. Of course, and pretty much sends him flying to the self-destruct button. And so he goes back on the Eagle 5 and they escape. Then, of course, everyone's trying to leave from either their own henchmen, to clowns, to performers, to bears, to drag maids. They steal, and all the escape pods are gone by then. And so, the president, there's Helmet, Scroob, and Sanders are left behind. And so they're let's find the stop self-destruct button. They find it, but it's out of service. And Dark Helmet's oh no, even everything in the future doesn't work. And of course, the countdown happens. 10 does self-destruct. 10, 9, 8, 6, 6. What happened to 7? Just kidding. 7, of course. Pretty much then, it blows up, but Scrooge, Helmet, and Sanders don't die. Instead, they basically get sent flying out inside the whole Statue of Liberty's head, and they crash land the remains of Megamaid on a planet populated by intelligent apes. And of course, these 2 apes see them, and they're like, hey look, Spaceballs. Well, humanity's fucked. While they're climbing out of the Megamaid's nose. Like, I love how this movie just easily embraced itself in its existence too. Like, well, especially whenever the movie constantly breaks the fourth wall. Like, all the characters know more than they're supposed to. And that's what makes it so funny. The movie knows it's a movie. When breaking the fourth wall, Spaceballs parodies movies that make and sell tons of merchandise back when this came out based off of it, and takes it all to the extreme. Every product the characters use, from toys to toilet paper, has the word Spaceballs on it. Spaceballs bed sheets, Spaceballs toilet paper, Spaceballs lunchboxes, Spaceballs cereal, Spaceballs flamethrowers that apparently the kids love buying. They get a spoof of everything, and honestly, it's a funny film for all ages. If you watch this as young, the innuendos go over your head. Like, you just think the movie's funny, it's a real exciting adventure. And as an adult, you do notice the innuendo and still think it's a real exciting adventure. And I really like the theme song of this movie, which is definitely one of the best theme songs of any comedy movie, because it has an adventurous epic quality to it. I like the song Spaceballs and the self-destruct sequence is also exciting, but also very funny as well. Production value for a $20 million budgeted film or $18 million budgeted film is also great. Like, for a parody, they really go all the way to give us a great vision that helps reinforce the humor and visual humor, and also the visual effects as well. And also the story too even makes this parody work. Like any great parody, it's not aware it is one. It plays it straight, believing it's being serious when by nature it really isn't. And the film doesn't just parody Star Wars, it parodies elements of other cliche normally in sci-fi films. So now we get off the finale. So once Star and Barf have escaped with Princess Vespa and Dot Matrix, they learn that they won't have to pay their debt to Pizza the Hut, because apparently Pizza the Hut ended up killing himself by eating himself to death. So their debt is cleared, and they return Vespa to her father, but they don't want their money. Like, they're pretty much like, you can see like Star doesn't really want that money anymore, because he's kind of fallen in love with Vespa by that point, even though Barf is satisfied that Pizza the Hut is dead. So they decline payment, and so Star leaves and accepts that Vespa is going to marry a prince. A sleepy one. So they go to a space diner, and when they order stuff, like, Barf's tail keeps wagging and rubbing the waitress's ass, and like, saying like, sorry, it has a moment of its own. And Star's is like, knock it off. Then of course, like, and it turns out the special that Barf ordered is also ordered by these other guys that are parodying Alien. And then, of course, when that happens, it turns out the special caused a chest burster to burst out of the parody of John Hurt's character. And parody John Hurt's character is like, not again. And the Xenomorph skull-like thing comes out. And it turns out Michigan J. Frog going, hello, my birdie, hello. And dances all over the table out through the door. And Star and Barf like, check please, we're out of here. And like, Barf pretty much cancels his order as well once he realizes what the special is going to cause to him. And then when they're back, they see a final message from Yogurt that's hidden in a fortune cookie. And it's like, yeah, I see you've opened your fortune cookie. Now, here's the message. And it pretty much tells that Star's a prince. So they go back to Drudia, and they go back in time to stop Vespa's wedding to Valium. And Vespa just pushed them out of the way. And like the wedding receptionist, who's just pretty much now, you know, tired of having to constantly delay everything all the time, he pretty much reveals, he ends up skipping the short part and lets them just get married right away after Star reveals his royal lineage. And he and Vespa get married, and they drive off in the RV. That's that. That's how Spaceballs ends. The day is saved, and everyone lives happily ever after. But we are supposed to be getting a sequel, when they're searching for more money. Alright, so now I have any bad qualities with Spaceballs. Sure, I mean, there may be a few scenes that maybe could have been cut and could have been a little bit shorted. You know, like some of the pacing when they're in the desert does feel a little bit long. And I guess there's some bits on Druda that could be a little shorter pace. And I think maybe the final act just kind of drags a little bit too much. That's just me, though. So, but it's still just as funny as it was back when it's come out for a lot of people, especially Dark Helmet the most. Spaceballs is like an example of a parody of Star Wars that even can still feel like Star Wars. You know, it's a parody of Star Wars, but even still has the whole effects of Star Wars. It still has the budget. It has the effort put into it, you know? It's low budget, but actually doesn't even feel like it's low budget whenever they're in space. Spaceballs is still an iconic classic, so other than those, may the Schwartz be with you on Spaceballs. An iconic parody movie to this day. See, Seltzer Freeberg? You guys clearly never watched this and saw how you should have been referencing your stuff in your parody movies. So in the end, if you want to watch a perfect, funny parody of Star Wars and want to see one of Mel Brooks' best film, then I would definitely watch and buy Spaceballs for your collection for sure, no doubt. Anyways, that's it for my review of Spaceballs. If you're going to rank Spaceballs, here's how I'm going to rank this movie. So overall, if you're a fan of Star Wars and also a fan of Mel Brooks and want to see an actually good parody of Star Wars that even feels like Star Wars itself, then I would definitely recommend watching and buying Spaceballs for your collection for sure, no doubt. If you're going to rank Spaceballs, I'm going to give Spaceballs a damn 10 out of 10. Alright guys, there we go. That officially wraps up my review for Spaceballs. Once again, may the Schwartz be with you all. And until then, that will be it for this review. Thank you all for watching. And if you like this and want to see more, don't forget to subscribe to Don G. Corleone.